Welcome to the Bos Auto Show. Buying or selling your vehicle during the pandemic is certainly different, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Owner of Bos Auto Sales in Quincy, Paul Hu, has years of experience, knowledge, and stories to share with you. Find out what the local car market is like and what you can do to help secure yourself the best deals. Join in on Paul's discussion with our moderator, Gloris Liu.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your moderator for the Bos Auto Show, Gloris Liu. Today, we have a very special guest, John, who is going to talk about car modification over the next 45 minutes. You can visit Bos Auto website at www.bosautogroup.com. Also, you can follow us on social media like Instagram and Facebook because we have lots of special deals we post on social media platforms. And please check them. Follow the account Bos Auto is BOSAUTO. Welcome, John, to our show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I mean, it's your very first time on the show, and we are very excited to ask about your professional experience in car modification, right? But first, can you give us a self-introduction, why you get into the car modification area? It sounds really cool.
Again, my name's John. Been involved in car racing for a number of years now. Modifications started way back when I was young. My brother and I, we watched Fast and the Furious, and we saw all those cars with the modifications, and it was really cool to see people customize cars exactly how they wanted. And so my brother and I, we got into it. My friends, we got into it, and we started modifying cars, the way we wanted to.
Well, that sounds really exciting. Turning what you dream of into career path.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And when you started the career, have you met any difficulties, or some exciting stories?
Yeah, I mean,
can share.
I am an instructor for a couple different clubs with exotic cars and things like that. Been all over the U.S. I've been all over. I actually been in Germany. Involving cars. I've been on racetracks all across the U.S.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It definitely is exciting every day.
Yeah, I would imagine lots of people like car racing.
Yeah.
But it's just for hobby. But you actually do it for business, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Professional life. So just talk about more personal stories. What's your first modified car and what it was like?
My first modified car, that was way back. It was a Volvo S60R.
Wow.
I took the wheels, changed the brake pads, did some exhaust, just minor modifications that people do when they're younger. And it was enjoyable. Definitely got me into the modification world and started the addiction, I guess you could say.
So you drove the car yourself, or
yeah,
a modified car?
Yeah. When I bought it, it was a stock car, and then I modified it, the way I wanted to, and then drove it for about 2-3 years, and then sold it, and then bought another car, modified that one, and
every new challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel very proud after modified car, right?
Yeah. It's an accomplishment. It's something it's your own.
Well, actually, I don't know anything about car racing and modification. You are a pro here, but I'm excited to hear more about professional advice you can give to our audience. But first, can you break down the term? What is modifying a car? What's the requirements of it?
Modifying a car can be anything. It can be changing the color of the car, changing the wheels, changing the engine, the exhaust, the suspension. Modifying is, you can really do anything you want with the car. Any change to the car is modifying it, and it's making it your own personal car.
Oh, so even with a minor modification like the color or anything.
Yeah.
It's called modifying a car.
Yeah, you can modify, just the color. You can modify the entire engine. You can put a brand new engine in it. You can modify the interior. You can put a sound system. You can, it's literally limitless.
Well, I personally think it's a very creative area because after you buy the car, it doesn't have to remain like this. You can
Yeah.
customize it and put whatever you like on the car. Must feel really good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
And lots of people worry that modifying a car will affect its warranty. Do you have something advice?
So modifying a car can affect the warranty depending on what you do to it. I mean, if you have a brand new car and you take the engine out and put a different engine in, obviously that's going to affect the warranty. If you take a brand new car and you just change the wheels on it, that's not really going to affect the warranty. It all depends. It definitely is a little bit easier to modify a used car, because then you don't have to worry about, the factory warranty. If you have a used car and you want to change the brakes on it, normally it's easier because it's not going to affect the warranty as much.
Oh, because it's a used car, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially for people like me who haven't been into car modification, and when we buy a new car, we'll be so hesitate to modify. Would you suggest what kind of suggestions you would give to people to assure them, it's okay to modify a car?
Yeah. So if you purchase a used car, it's gonna be a little bit easier to modify because you don't have to worry about the factory warranty. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can do. Again, you can do small modifications, or you can do something massive. You can put a wide body kit on it, or you can put a spoiler. You can put anything you want. You can put a roll cage in the car.
I remember, our previous episodes, we talk with Paul about money matters, right?
Yeah.
Like after you buy the car, you have to think a lot, and even if you think about modifying a car, there's extra large amount of money. So what kind of prices, what's the price range like if you want to modify?
I mean, price range can vary. You can do something as small as an intake. An intake's going to cost you about $250 maybe. And then you can, like I said earlier, you can put a new engine in the car, and that can go all the way up to $10,000, $15,000. So the price varies depending on the project that you want to do to the car.
Oh, okay. And if people like me who haven't doesn't have any knowledge in car modification, what are some good resources I can turn to help me?
Some good resources. I mean, there's a lot of Facebook groups that have just modifying cars. What I would recommend is, whatever car you purchase, try and find a Facebook group about that specific car. So let's say you have a Subaru WRX. There's a group on Facebook just for Subaru WRXs. So you can talk to people who own the car. You can see people how they modify the car. You can ask them their opinion. You can ask them what's good, what's bad. It definitely helps out. On top of that, there is just general groups that have just car modifications. So you can see every different type of car, from Nissan to Ferrari to Honda.
Yeah, it just depends on what you want.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. So let's go into next topic about legal status. I mean, lots of people are concerned about that. Do laws allow modification in Massachusetts?
Again,
I mean, you travel, work in different parts of the U.S.
Yeah.
What's the differences?
So as far as Massachusetts, there are some modifications that will make it so it won't pass, the annual inspection. It won't. Massachusetts doesn't allow tint, for example. You can't have a certain dark tint. Exhaust, same thing. You have to have certain things on your exhaust to pass the inspection. But again, if you change the tires, if you change the wheels, if you put different wheels on and they're a different color, that's not going to affect the laws in Massachusetts. That's not going to affect the annual inspection. Something simple as that. I do know someone who swapped out the entire engine on his car. That didn't affect the annual inspection either, because it's still a legal engine, and he was allowed to have that modification in Massachusetts.
Oh, but you would suggest, audience to just check online
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the legal documents and stuff.
Check with the RMV. Check with also check with the Facebook groups. Check with the the forums online, and see if it will pass the annual inspection. You can also call the garage that you're about to go to, and they should be able to answer some of your questions.
Yeah, yeah. And another professional term we mentioned before, like, what is street legal, especially in modification area?
Street legal, there are some things that are not street legal. Competition race tires. Let's say, for example, drag race tires are only allowed on the drag race track. You can't drive with them on the street. They're not DOT legal. They're not Department of Transportation legal. So they're not street legal. Also, if you put an entire roll cage in your car, you're not really supposed to drive on the street with a roll cage.
Oh, so I can't drive it on the road. I just do it for...
It's supposed to be for the track only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Something just to keep in mind, right? Again, just check online with RMV, with professionals like you, of course.
Yeah.
Just to check again before modify a car. I mean, it's something really large to consider.
Yeah,
It's a big step forward. It will affect in your future and payment, I would think of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and also another really good question I will ask, for middle class, or I mean, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic, everybody is keeping their budget tight.
Yeah.
Want to save money, especially for emergency in the future, because it's really hard to predict what will happen. Conventionally, we think about car modification as rich people's game, what we see.
Yeah, sometimes.
In Fast and Furious, of course, in the movie, is that really costly, necessary, or?
I mean, again, the range varies so much on modification. So if someone is, still trying to budget their money, they can do a simple modification. They can do something like changing the steering wheel. Changing the steering wheel is only a couple $100. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not going to be a waste of money. It's going to change how the car is for you. It's going to customize the car exactly how you want. So it's not necessarily a rich people's game. Anyone can modify a car. Anyone can customize a car.
And I mean, you have worked in the field for a couple of years.
Yeah.
You mentioned what's the most memorable stories you can share with us?
Most memorable stories. I have been on the racetrack in Germany. I've done the Nürburgring, which is a very famous racetrack over in Germany. I did a couple laps over there. I got to drive a modified car on the Autobahn in Germany. I've driven a lot of different cars on different racetracks in the U.S. I've driven Lamborghinis, Ferraris, everything down to BMW and Honda, and I mean, I have so many different stories. I guess it would be, definitely my time in Germany. That stands out the most, because that's one of the most iconic, famous racetracks. And I had the opportunity to drive on it.
Wow, that's great to hear. And also, could you recommend some of the most affordable, used car models we can?
Affordable used car models. I mean, you have Volkswagen GTI. You have Honda Civic, Subaru WRX, as I mentioned earlier. You have a lot of people modify BMWs. Mazda Miata. I actually personally own a Mazda Miata, and you can do a lot of different modifications to those. But you can, it's not just about cars. You can also modify trucks. You can also modify SUVs. So you have the Jeep Wrangler, you have Ford F-150s. You can modify anything.
Okay, thank you, John, for sharing your personal experiences, and we will talk more after a short break here on 95.9 WATD.
So, you're in the market for a pre-owned vehicle? Buy it at Bos Auto. Bos Auto in Quincy has a fantastic selection of pre-owned vehicles, both luxury and economic. BMW, Audi, and Porsche, Honda, Toyota, and Nissan. They search nationally for the very best vehicles so you can drive home with the best value. And right now at Bos Auto, you can get behind the wheel of the pre-owned vehicle of your dreams with affordable finance rates, maybe even lower than 3. That's right, meaning just a few $100 a month. Visit bossautogroup.com, bosautogroup.com, and check out their huge selection of pre-owned vehicles. They'll buy your car, take your trade, or even work on consignment. Bos Auto has an incredible lineup of domestic and foreign vehicles, even rare finds like Ferrari. Search online and see for yourself why you should book your next car buying experience with Bos Auto. They're open for appointments Monday through Friday, 10 to 7. Book yours at bossautogroup.com, bossautogroup.com.
Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm your moderator, Gloris Liu. Continuing our discussion with John, our special guest today on the Bos Auto Show. Before that, you can visit Bos Auto website at www.bosautogroup.com. It's BOSAUTO. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We post lots of good pictures about automotive, and this month we have lots of special deals on the platforms. Please do not miss them and check the special deals online. Follow the account Bos Auto, is BOSAUTO. And John, we are happy to have you here.
Thank you.
You talk about your personal experience in car modification, how you turn your passion into a career, and how you travel to Germany, and then just attend really great high-level car racing events. Before that, we talk about even the minor changes about car can be car modification. It's not that rich people's game, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you can continue our discussion about some recommendations on used car models, because you mentioned used car are the best to modify.
Yeah.
So
used car models definitely, I personally think are the best to modify. They have been out for a while, so you can find the different modifications for them. You can upgrade anything from performance, engine, exhaust, brakes, tires, wheels, and then you can also modify style or looks. So you can put wide body kits on it. You can change the different color. You can put a wrap on it. You can put airbags so that the car is lower. You can there's endless things that you can do.
I mean, like, when you view from long-term goals, what are the top maybe 3 goals that when people decide to modify the car, what are they thinking? What's the mindset?
When people are modifying cars, they are making it their own. So, even on the ride-in today, I drove by 2 black BMW 3 Series. They're both identical cars. So that's why people modify and customize cars, because you can have 5 blue Subarus, but one could have a different spoiler, one could have a different color wheels, one could have a different exhaust. So it makes the car exactly what that person wants, and it's an extension of themselves. They can change the car however they want, so that there's nothing else like it. It's just their own personal car.
So it's very, very unique.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
your own unique car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, of course, like when you view it every day, you feel, oh, I did it myself. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody has it. And I don't know if we mentioned some good recommendations, like Jeep Wrangler. That
Yeah.
can we modify car?
Yeah, Jeep Wrangler is probably one of the most modified SUVs out there. There's, people who do all different things to Jeeps. There's some people who lift them and put big tires
Whoa.
and go off-roading. There's some people that lower them and, make them as low to the ground as possible. So Jeep, people take the doors off, people change the roof, they add lights to the car, there's a lot of different modifications you can do to Jeeps. People love them. There's plenty of off-road modifications you can do. There's plenty of airbag and lowering kits and things like that you can do to Jeeps.
I mean, like, before I watched some Jeep advertisements, I think in my mind, Jeep is a really adventurous car.
Yeah.
But you can also make it different ways.
Yeah.
Right.
There's some people on the internet that will take a Jeep and put a Corvette motor in it.
Oh.
So yeah, it changes the car completely. Again, makes it unique, just like you said. It changes the car, 100% different from when it left the factory.
Oh, okay. What about Ford Focus?
Ford Focus is, another car that people modify extensively. There's people that modify a Ford Focus just to make it look better. There's people that modify a Ford Focus to take on the racetrack, to actually race and, drive fast. Then there's people that take a Ford Focus and drag race it.
I mean, Ford is definitely a very good start.
Yeah.
It's
It's a great start. It's a lower priced, reliable car, and you can, like I said, the modifications are endless to it, so you can make it look different. You can put a sound system in it. You can take it on the racetrack. You can put, race seats, suspension, different brakes, tires, and take it to a racetrack. Then you can, take it to a drag strip or just a car show.
I saw many people, they modify Ford, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would guess it's a very good start. And what about Volkswagen Golf, like GTI?
Volkswagen Golf, another car that people modify a lot. I was just at a track event recently, and there was a Volkswagen Golf there that was on the racetrack, and it was racing with us. And then, the event that I had before that one, it was just a car show, and there was a Volkswagen there on airbags and very, very low to the ground, and it was just there just for show, for looks. So again, it's one of those cars that you can do virtually anything with. You can take it to the drag strip, you can take it to the racetrack, you can take it to a car show, you can just keep it, semi-modified and drive it on the street.
So it doesn't have a limit.
No,
for
not at
car
all.
modification. We talk about Miata, right? And BMW, Jeep, Subaru. Did we talk about Mazda, Miata, or we haven't mentioned?
Miata, we didn't talk about a ton. Like I said, I actually race a Mazda Miata. I have a spec Miata, which is a full prepped race car. People take Miatas and put, Mustang engines in them. They take them for drifting. People take Miatas and just take them to a car show and see how low they can get them. People take Miatas, and it's probably one of the most used track car out there because of its price and its reliability and just the way it handles and drives.
So, like, for beginners in car modification, what are the top 3 brands you would recommend to start? Ford, of course, maybe you mentioned.
Yeah, Ford Focus, Honda Civic, and probably Volkswagen GTI are I think the 3 most modified cars that I can think of, if not, Subaru WRX. There's just so many modified cars out there, and I think those would be the top 3, top 4 that I can think of.
And if I want to go to higher level for advancement, what are some choices?
Yeah, higher level, there's BMW M3s, there's Nissan GTRs, there's even people that modify high-end cars like McLaren and Lamborghini and Ferrari.
Wow, that can be modified?
Yeah, they can definitely be modified. They can, again, you can do all the same things that you can do with the lower price cars, you can do with the higher price cars. There's people that have a Lamborghini that was naturally aspirated, and then they made it into a twin turbo. So they added more power. Lamborghini comes with about 600 horsepower, and now they have ones that are 1200 horsepower.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's really cool. And one of the goals you mentioned when people try to modify their car is looking for performance upgrades.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what most people want. And would you recommend some modifications to begin with?
To start with, I think it's what a lot of people start with. For performance upgrades, they put an intake and an exhaust. That's the basic, that's the very beginner level modifications that you can do. You can also have a company tune the car. It's called tuning. They take the computer in the car, the ECU, and they actually reprogram it so that it actually makes the car a little bit faster, or it adds more boost in the car, or they change the air-fuel ratio. They do a lot of different things while tuning the car to make the most power out of it.
So besides performance upgrades, what are other, modification you can do to achieve your goal?
Yeah, so you can, as I've mentioned, you can change the wheels. Wheels are probably one of the more common modifications that people do. There are thousands and thousands of different wheel companies out there, and then on top of the wheels there are hundreds of different colors. So even if 2 individuals get the exact same wheel, one could have a black wheel, one could have a gold wheel.
Whoa.
So there's tons of different modifications that you can do. People do suspension, people do different bumpers, different spoilers.
Wow. That's really eye-opening. I didn't know before we can change that much.
Yeah, you can change a lot. There's a lot to change, and a lot that people do change.
In the previous episode, we talked about car buying, and leasing is about the process before buying the car. But when you talk about car modification, it's after you buy the car.
Yeah, it's definitely the process after you buy the car. It's it's the same thing when you buy a house. No one really goes into their house and they leave all the walls the same color. So everyone wants to change it to make it their own. So they paint the outside of the house, they paint different rooms, they change the furniture in the house, they add, they change the bathroom, they make the bathroom look different. It's ultimately the same thing with your car. You want to make the car exactly how you want. You want to make it perfect for you.
Yes, of course. Do I have to think thoroughly before buying the car, about car modification, or do you recommend?
Some people do. Some people look for a used car, or a new car, just based on what they can modify. You can do that, or you can, buy the car that you want and then modify it after, and find and learn new things about the car.
And also I wonder, after we modify the car and if we change our mind, can we just turn it to the original look, or can we?
Yeah, you can definitely change it back to stock, unless you did something drastic, unless you did something extreme. If you made it a wide body and you started cutting the fenders and adding different fenders and different bumpers, it's going to be a lot harder to go back to stock. If you swap the engine out of the car, so let's say you have a Nissan 240 and you put a Chevy Corvette motor in it, it's going to be a lot harder to go back to that original Nissan 240 engine.
So for like minor changes, like I change the airbags or...
Yeah, you can definitely, if you changed the wheels or if you changed the steering wheel or the seats, you can definitely go back to stock, go back to the original spec, and that's a lot easier.
Oh, I see. And I can also upgrade like my previous modification, right?
Yeah, so if you purchased seats, you can change the seats again to get an even better seat, or you can change the seat back to the original.
Wow, lots of to consider. Thank you,
Yeah,
Joe.
definitely.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Of
and
course.
we'll come back after a short break here on 95.9 WATD.
So, you're in the market for a pre-owned vehicle? Buy it at Bos Auto. Bos Auto in Quincy has a fantastic selection of pre-owned vehicles, both luxury and economic. BMW, Audi, and Porsche, Honda, Toyota, and Nissan. They search nationally for the very best vehicles so you can drive home with the best value. And right now at Bos Auto, you can get behind the wheel of the pre-owned vehicle of your dreams with affordable finance rates, maybe even lower than 3. That's right, meaning just a few $100 a month. Visit bossautogroup.com, BOSAutogroup.com, and check out their huge selection of pre-owned vehicles. They'll buy your car, take your trade, or even work on consignment. Bos Auto has an incredible lineup of domestic and foreign vehicles, even rare finds like Ferrari. Search online and see for yourself why you should book your next car buying experience with Bos Auto. They're open for appointments Monday through Friday, 10 to 7. Book yours at bossautogroup.com, bossautogroup.com.
Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm your moderator Gloris Liu for Bos Auto Show. Here on the show we have a special guest, John, today to talk about car modification. Before we get into the topic, I will just mention you can visit Bos Auto website at www.bossautogroup.com. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. This month, Bos Auto has a lot of special deals that we post on social media. Check them online and do not miss them, and follow the account BOSAUTO. It's Bos Auto. Before the break, John, you were talking about car modification to different brands of cars, Ford, Jeep.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you can think of. And after you modify a car, you can actually change it back and change to the original or upgrade it. I mean, for me, it's very educating. I didn't know much about car modification. And the next phrase I think our audience are very concerned about is safety. Is it safe? I mean, you change it.
Yeah, again, it is safe for the most part. Unless you're changing, a while back I did say, adding a roll cage to the car. So if you add a complete roll cage to the car, driving it on the street is not going to be safe. There's metal bars all around the car, and you're really supposed to be driving that on a racetrack with a helmet on.
Yeah.
But as far as safety, adding suspension, adding tires, adding wheels, adding different brakes, or changing the seats or the steering wheel, that's all relatively safe. It's not going to really affect the car at all. The airbags are still going to be in the car. Most of the safety features are still going to be in the car. The crumple zones, and as long as you're not stripping the car all the way down to the bare metal, it's safe.
Yeah, I think that's basic common sense. Like if you change the wheels and stuff, at least it's working.
Yeah,
it will be alright. But it doesn't hurt to check with professionals and ask.
Definitely.
Yes. And also for insurance, if I modify the car, do I need to apply for special insurance?
No, so you don't really necessarily have to apply for special insurance. Most car insurances will cover the car. If you do anything drastic to the car, that let's say you added you added different bumpers and you added different paint. You changed the entire color of the car. You spent a lot of money on that. So you need to let your insurance company know, hey, I changed the wheels on my car. So I called the insurance company and I said I added a modification to my car. They said, what was it? I said it was the wheels. They said, how much were they? I told them how much they were. And so they factor that into the price of the car when you insure it.
Okay. And does the price vary every year?
Depending on what you do, yeah. I know some people that don't really let their insurance company know that they modify it, which is perfectly fine. If you're changing the tires and the brakes, you don't really need to tell your insurance company. But if you're doing something that's super expensive that you want the insurance company to know, just in case there's ever an accident, that they can reimburse you part of it back, that's something that's possible.
Maybe can you name a few like massive projects maybe you have to report to the insurance company?
Massive projects would be, like I said, changing the wheels. Some wheels are very expensive. I know some sets of wheels can get up to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
Wow.
So if you ever got into an accident and you wanted part of that $7,000 that you paid, you need to let your insurance company know before or right when you change them. Anything else would be major exterior modifications. Let's say you put all different bumpers and side skirts and spoiler and hood, and you painted the car a totally different color, and the paint job costs $10,000. That I would let my insurance company know, because you worked hard for that, and you spent a lot of money on that, and you want to, if anything ever happened, you want to be insured.
Of course, yeah. I think generally when people modify their car, they'll pay more attention.
Yes.
After
Yeah, definitely.
the modification. And besides insurance company, anything else I have to keep in mind? Maybe.
So me personally, whenever I change something on a car, and I know we talked about it a little bit, but I always keep the original part. So let's say I changed the seat. I keep the original seat just in case I want to go back. I don't have to search on the forums or search online or search on the car communities to see if anyone has a stock seat for sale. I had the seat. I took the seat out of my car. I put an upgraded seat in my car. I want to keep that stock seat just in case I want to put the car back to stock.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah.
And if say like you keep the original part, like maybe in the future I change my mind, can I sell it to private parties? Or?
Yeah, definitely. People are looking for modified parts and stock parts. People are looking for car parts all the time, every day, every minute. You can go on Facebook Marketplace and you can see wheels, tires, suspension, seats. You can see so many different things for sale. So you can see, and that's the beauty of it, because you can, let's say I bought seats for my car. I installed them in the car, and then I didn't like the seats. I can always sell those upgraded seats to someone else to see if they like them.
Yeah. What you said remind me is that Paul in the previous episode, he mentioned buying a car is different, like it's your second largest property, and when you buy from private parties, there might be some risks for beginners especially.
True.
Would you say the risks will be minimized if you do that for car modification?
So whenever I buy a car modification, I try and buy it from a reputable company. I don't, unless I know 100% the person that I'm buying it from or the part that I'm buying from, I like to buy it from a company that specializes in that. So there's a company up by where I live, and I needed a part of my car. I know the shop. They specialize in that suspension part that I needed, so I went there and I purchased that. Just like, if you want to wrap your car a different color, that's still customizing a car. Make sure you go to a reputable shop that wraps cars properly. You don't want just any person off the street wrapping your car with a wrap, because then it might not come out good. It might damage the paint. It's just, you're better off doing it with professionals or someone that you fully trust.
Yes. How about marketplace? Like if I buy parts to modify my car.
Again, same thing. You want to make sure that it is the correct part that you're buying, because let's just say a sway bar. A sway bar is a piece of suspension on the car. They make sway bars for every type of car. They make sway bars for Porsche. They make sway bars for Mustangs. They make sway bars for all different cars, but for each car it's a different part. So you want to make sure that you're buying the proper part for your car, and then every year car is different. So let's say for Miata, a 1995 Miata is going to have different parts than a 2005 Miata.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you are 100% buying the proper part for the proper car.
And talk to the vendor.
Exactly. So that's why it's easier to go to a shop or a vendor than it is to buy on Marketplace, because you might not know 100%. You might ask the person that's selling it, hey, will this fit my car? They might not know. So it's just easier to buy
yourself.
Yeah, it's just easier to buy from a vendor or a company unless you or the person selling it privately know 100%.
Well, that's really good that you mentioned that, especially, but I mean, like, I worried because we are still in a pandemic.
Yes.
And we do everything online. Like,
yeah.
And it's not easy to come over and see in person. Have you noticed anything is changing in the car racing and modification field after the pandemic?
Yeah, so I used to do a lot more events that I did this year. So last year I did a lot of, I sit in the passenger seat, and I'm an instructor for car racing. So I teach them, when to hit the brakes, when to turn the wheel, when to add the gas, things like that. And I teach beginners how to drive on a racetrack. I did a lot more events last year than I've done this year, just because, I want to make sure I'm safe. I want to make sure the person that is in the driver's seat is safe. I'm trying to social distance. So the events that I have gone to, I sit next to the person. I make sure they're wearing a mask. I'm wearing a mask. It definitely has changed the car community. Even people selling parts on Marketplace. No one really wants to go to another person's house that they don't know. And it's, that's why shopping online is a little bit easier. And you make sure that you're getting 100% the right part.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even if you can see in person, just to give like another look before buying it. So
Yeah, definitely.
It's always the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And in the future, and also just to summarize our show today, what are some key takeaways you would give to our audience about car racing and modifications?
Some key tips on modification. Almost anything's a modification. You can customize your car exactly how you want. You can change it to exactly it shows exactly who you are and exactly what you wanted your car to look like or to perform. There's nothing really, there's not too much or not too little that you can do to modify your car.
Yeah, I mean, like, I really learned a lot from this episode because I'm a beginner in car modification.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I'm just so glad you came today to talk to us and
I am
share your
too.
experience to our audience. We hope you will come back in later
definitely.
shows and just share more experience. And good luck in the future.
Thank you.
And we will see our audience next week at the exact same time. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks for tuning in to the Bos Auto Show. Come back next week after the news at noon here on 95.9 WATD.